Part 100. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1018. Updated today. Sister. After hesitating, Chu Xia said, "Don't be angry if I tell you." "Are you sure you are serious about Lu Lianbao this time?" "Yes." Zhao Qiwei understood as soon as her mind turned around. "You think that each of my relationships is too close and leaves no time for myself to think, right?" "Yes," Chu Xia responded calmly. "Of course I also know that sister is very serious every time, and the fault is not her fault." After a pause, she continued, "But sister, I still think you made the decision. It was too fast and a little thoughtless." "Xia, just now you thought I didn't reply to Lu Lianbao's letter, and now you're saying I didn't consider it well? You've confused me." Zhao Qiwei sighed. "Then tell me, what is the right thing to do?" "No, I didn't mean that." Chu Xia quickly explained, "What I'm struggling with right now is whether I really understand my feelings, not whether it's right to talk to Battalion Commander Lu. Talking about the matter, we all think that Lu Yingchang is a good person, but the key is what I think. Does I really like him and want to spend the rest of my life with him? If my sister's answer to him is what I said before, when he comes back and we get along with him, if it's suitable, we can be together. If it's not suitable, we can't force it, so I won't say anything. The problem is, I have given Commander Lu the exact answer now. I think he is also a very persistent person. If I don't want to be with him anymore, the damage will definitely destroy half of his life." Zhao Qiwei interrupted Chu Xia with a smile. "Okay, I understand your worries. You think Lu Lianbao is a good soldier and you don't want me to hurt him, right?" That being the case, Chu Xia had no choice but to admit, "It kind of means that." "Then let me ask you, in your heart, am I the kind of person who doesn't consider others and only cares about my own feelings?" "No." "Then it's over." After sighing, Zhao Qiwei continued, "Xia, it really makes me sad that you doubt me so much. However, I still want to tell you the truth because I saw the article and Zhang Wenyuan's unreliability. After reading the spectrum, I figured out what kind of person I needed to find. Lu Lianbao's cultural level is indeed low, but after chatting with him, I found that his knowledge is not shallow. I just got into college. Compared with what he did, what should I be proud of? An upright and persistent man really likes me. There is something in him that I admire. At the same time, my exact answer can make him cherish himself more. So why don't I do this?" "Sister, I feel relieved when you say this. In fact, I am quite conflicted. On the one hand, I hope that Commander Lu will care more about me. On the other hand, I hope that my sister can be truly happy." Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. I feel like I'm a little crazy, he. Actually." After a pause, Zhao Qiwei coughed sheepishly. "Actually, even if you don't ask me, I still want to tell you about this matter. After all, I have nothing to say to others. It's so uncomfortable. Yes, my eldest aunt is still in City A, sister." Chu Xia smiled mischievously. "My eldest aunt used to love my sister the most, but now, she has turned all her attention to Xiaoxian. Doesn't she feel sad?" "What's so sour about this?" Zhao Qiwei said speechlessly. "My sister-in-law is pregnant, and I still compete with her for her favor. Do you think I am such an ignorant person?" "I'm teasing you." Chu Xia giggled. "Actually, I think you should be jealous of me. Grandma and Grandpa stay here with me." Zhao Qiwei really didn't know what to say. According to her cousin, if she wasn't a little jealous, it would seem a little abnormal. "I won't talk to you anymore. I always come here to make phone calls. Others want to gossip." Zhao Qiwei lowered his voice. "Unless there's something urgent from now on, I'd better write a letter." After being stunned for a moment, Chu Xia understood. Did someone say something? "Yes," Zhao Qiwei responded. Your uncle snatched this phone number from Xiaolin village. Everyone was very grateful to him before, but now, you understand, I won't talk to you anymore, and hung up. Before Chu Xia could speak, the call was hung up in a hurry. After thinking about it, Chu Xia simply dialed Xiaolin village's number again. Hello. The call came from a male voice with a local accent. Is Zhao Kiwi here? Chu Xia asked. She just left. Are you looking for her? There was a trace of impatience in the man's voice. It's okay, please excuse me. After saying goodbye, Chu Xia hung up the phone and let out a long sigh. It was because she had not thought about it. In this era, the phone is not an ordinary thing. What's wrong? Zhao Yulan sat aside and looked at her daughter with a worried look on her face. What happened? It's nothing. If my sister uses the phone, the people in the village may not be very happy. The people in the village are unhappy. Zhao Yulan was stunned. That shouldn't be the case. Your sister's phone calls were all to give money to the village. Moreover, your uncle got the phone call, and now your uncle is in town again. How can the villagers treat your sister like that? I don't think it should be the case, but just now Sister Kiwi hung up the phone and I called her back. A man answered the call, and her tone was indeed not very good. After pondering for a while, Zhao Yulan said, I'll ask your fat aunt to find out if something happened. Otherwise, this shouldn't be the case. The next day, the fat aunt handed over the news. The reason why Xiaolin village party secretary's attitude changed was because of Zhao Qian's incident. Originally, when Zhao Qian married Lu Zhenqiang, it was publicized in the village, and everyone knew that she was married to an official, and her husband's family was quite powerful. As a result, in the blink of an eye, she got divorced and returned to her parents' family. After the initial rumors, there were speculations about the decline of her husband's family. Then, someone didn't know who released the news, saying that her husband's family in early summer was also in trouble. Then, some people's attitudes naturally changed. Regarding this, Chu Xia was extremely speechless. I really don't know what the intentions of the person who released this kind of news were. Moreover, being able to make it look like it has a nose and eyes and make people believe it is really a skill. Before she could guess who this capable person was, an unexpected person came to her door, Lin Chuchun. Looking at Lin Chuchun, whose clothes were in tatters and whose hair was all in a mess, Chu Xia, Zhao Yulan, and Lin Baohe all had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Didn't they say that he was going to be a soldier? What's going on? Zhao Yulan grabbed the other party anxiously. Chuchun, how did you end up like this? Didn't you go to B City to serve as a soldier? Why did you come here? She said, fearing that the other party would misunderstand. He quickly explained, I don't dislike you for coming, but I am afraid that you will be punished by the army. Third aunt, third uncle, Chu Xia. Lin Chuchun didn't bother to answer Zhao Yulan's question. He looked at several people up and down before saying, Are you okay? Of course we're fine. Chu Xia looked at him in confusion. Who did you hear what? Master and Grandma said that something happened to third uncle. I thought it was true, so I came here secretly. Lin Chuchun scratched his head in embarrassment. The address was the last time you went back. I asked third uncle. Yes, I thought you must not be here anymore, but I didn't know where to look, so I tried to ask around, but I didn't expect you were actually here. What's going on here? Chu Xia pointed to the sofa. Sit down and talk slowly. First, let's talk about your time as a soldier. I passed the military examination, but later they said I was unqualified and was sent back. Lin Chuchun sighed. Actually, someone else took my name. I didn't make it up. It was a letter from a comrade. As I said, there was someone else who was accused, and he said he was going to sue, but as a result, the whole family suffered. He wrote to me because he was afraid that I would sue him too and harm myself. Chu Xia glared at him. Then why don't you write me a letter and ask your brother-in-law to check it for you? Lin Chuchun said matter-of-factly, I said that I have to rely on my own ability to serve as a soldier. Moreover, if you help me, Grandma will be restless again. Chu Xia sighed helplessly, okay, let's get this out of the way first. What happened to us? Isn't Zhao Qian from Xiaolin village divorced? People said that something happened to her man, so she got divorced and hid in her hometown. They also said that her man and Captain Zhou were together, and something happened to her man. Captain Zhou, something will happen to him if he grows up. A few days ago, when my father and I returned home, some people with noses and eyes said that Captain Zhou was also arrested, saying that the third uncle and the third aunt did not go back to their hometown to save face, and they took you to beg for food in the capital. I didn't believe it at first, but then I heard rumors outside and thought it might be true, and then Lin Chuchun bit her lip in embarrassment, then I ran here by myself. It's hard for you, kid. Lin Bao, he sighed, in the early spring, your good third uncle took note of it. Now the third uncle wants to ask you, are you willing to stay in the capital to find a job, or do you have other plans? I'll go back. Lin Chuchun shook his head anxiously, the third uncle's family is fine, so I won't cause trouble here. I still want to take the college entrance examination, and I have to go back and review carefully. Okay, third uncle won't stop you. You kid has a lot of potential. Third uncle can see that one day, you can make something famous. Lin Bao, he looked at Zhao Yulan, get some clothes first. Change the child into something. Already found. Zhao Yulan looked at Lin Chuchun with a smile, no matter what you plan next, let's take a shower, change clothes, and then eat. This time, Lin Chuchun did not refuse and obeyed the arrangement obediently. With the appearance of Lin Chuchun, Zhao Yulan's family understood the reason for Xiaolin village party secretary's change of attitude. They thought that Zhao Yushan's backstage had collapsed and it was his turn to stand up. It's a good thing that he got that position only because of Zhao Yushan's recommendation. Man, he is really greedy. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1020. The two chapters come together. Lin Chuchun stayed for 2 days and was about to go back. No matter how hard Shuxia's family tried to persuade him to stay, Lin Bao, he had no choice but to put him on the train back to the county. Uncle Third, I don't want. Before getting on the bus, Lin Bao, he handed Lin Chuchun 30 yuan, but the other party refused to take anything. You bought the ticket for me. When we get to the county, I can just walk back. My third aunt has prepared all the dry food for me, I have no place to spend money. Chuchun, if you don't call me second uncle now, but call me third uncle, you have to listen to me. Lin Bao, he forced the money into his hand, when you get to the county and take the car back, don't you want to take the college entrance examination, you have to buy a pen or something, right? Take it. Third uncle. Lin Chuchun was a little hesitant. When Lin Bao, he said this, he felt that he really needed some money, but he was embarrassed to give birth to him. Why did he change his name automatically? He just wanted to show through this that he came to visit the other party not to gain advantage through his previous relationship, but that he really cared about the other party. However, if he took the money. Big man, what are you talking about? Lin Bao, he glared at him, rubbed his head with his foot. I understand your thoughts, but Chuchun, if you know the difference so clearly, how can you still communicate with each other? In the hearts of your third aunt and I, you are our nephew. You used to stop Chu Chiu from bullying Chu Xia. Although you sometimes fought with Chu Xia, it was all because of her ignorance. Third uncle knows how you treat third uncle and third aunt's family. If it weren't for being too close to us, you wouldn't be disliked by the family. If you continue to be such a heretic, you would be sincerely burying third uncle. Third uncle, I accepted it. Lin Chuchun obediently put the money into his pocket. Third uncle, don't worry, I will definitely not spend it frivolously. When I make money, I will definitely be filial to my third uncle. That's right, Lin Bao. He looked at him with a look of reluctance. You're a stubborn kid too, and it's not like you don't have a place to live. What if you stay a little longer? It just so happens that I can still tutor you in early summer. You said you, why? Third uncle, if my sister is only a few months old now, I can just stay. She has such a big belly now and has to go to school, so how can she worry more? Waving his hand, Lin Chuchun looked at Lin Bao. He seriously, don't worry, third uncle, I have a good foundation and can pass the exam. Besides, if I don't know something, I can ask the teacher. Okay, third uncle won't advise you anymore. Sighing, Lin Bao he patted him on the shoulder. Remember, if you encounter any problems that cannot be solved, write to third uncle. Lin Chuchun nodded, I will. Hey. Lin Bao he sighed again, you kid, you are too stubborn. You came all the way and suffered so much to come here, and then you went back in such a hurry. Third uncle. Lin Chuchun interrupted him and grinned, actually, my trip here is very worthwhile. I saw Tiananmen and climbed the Great Wall. It really broadened my horizons. Anyway, after I came to the capital and walked around, I felt that my heart was much more open than before, and I no longer bothered with all the messy things my parents and grandparents were doing. That feeling is. After a pause, he continued, I just feel like I have suddenly changed as a person, and I also know what I should do in the future. Unlike before, I just messed around. After Lin Bao he returned home, he imitated Lin Chuchun's words with his wife and daughter. The two looked at each other and couldn't stop laughing. How dare you, I have been completely transformed in the past 2 days. If Chuchun sees you like this, I will be very sad. Lin Bao he looked at the couple helplessly, my children are serious, how can you laugh at others like this? Dad. Chu Xia quickly waved her hands, I'm not a joker, I'm just happy, of course. She giggled, I also think what he said is a bit exaggerated. I believe it opened my eyes, but if I say I thought everything clearly at once, I really don't believe it. He said this mainly to reassure his father. Of course, I believe it is true that he said that he had thought about it and found the right direction, but the premise should be that he had been thinking about these things for a long time. It's just that I hadn't figured it out before. After I came to the capital, I saw some things, and then I learned the news that Sister Kiwi had passed the exam and came here. I was inspired to straighten it out. It's true. Xia is right, but no matter what, it's worth being happy that this child in Chuchun is like this. After hesitating, Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter, although he said he didn't want to be a soldier anymore, but to be sent back like that is too bullying. Besides, keeping people like that in the army is simply harmful to people. Mom, I will tell Zhou Mikang about this. We really can't just let it go. Even if the early spring is gone, we can't just suffer the loss of being dumb, let alone let others in the future suffer the loss of being dumb again. That's right, if we know this kind of thing, we should talk to Xiaomi. Lin Bao he looked at his daughter seriously, keeping such people in the army is simply embarrassing the soldiers, but we can't let such people rat droppings spoil the whole pot of porridge. Listening to her father and mother constantly emphasizing the importance of this matter, Chu Xia smiled helplessly, Father, Mother, don't worry, Zhou Mixang will definitely take care of it. Yes, I know Xiaomi will take care of it, isn't this just talk? Lin Bao he smiled sheepishly, Dad is not afraid that Xiaomi will not care, but, is afraid that Xiaomi will misunderstand our relationship with Dalian village. What could he possibly misunderstand? Lin Chuchun is different from the others, and it's not like he doesn't know. Chu Xia looked at her father with a wry smile, I am your daughter, and you don't even believe me. No, no, Lin Bao he waved his hands repeatedly, After living in Dalan village for so many years, even if I broke off the relationship with your grandparents, I still think about it. I know this kind of thoughts of my own, and I can't help but think if you explain more and say something unpleasant, you have a guilty conscience. Chusya had a black thread at one end. What you mean is that if time passes, it's possible for Dad to forget about it and still care about those people as before. No, 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 Linbao he denied repeatedly. How could Dad be so confused and worry about everything? It's not like he didn't know what they had done. To put it bluntly, if I were a narrow-minded person, not only would I not care about them, but I would hate them for the rest of my life. To put it bluntly, the death of your grandparents back then was basically caused by them. But not only were they ungrateful, they also took their property and abused their son. If it hadn't happened that what they did back then was exposed, there's no telling whether their father would have let them die. Chusya felt relieved. It's good that Dad still remembers this. Some people, no matter how good you are to them, they will take it for granted and will not appreciate your kindness. Dad knows. Linbao he looked at his wife with soft eyes. Fortunately I met your mother, otherwise, Dad would not be sure what kind of life he would live now. God is fair. Zhao Yulan smiled. When you marry me, my parents will treat you as their own son. Doesn't it just make up for what you lack? Yes, yes. Linbao he nodded repeatedly. That's why I have always regarded my two elders as my biological parents. The way we interact with each other is that people change people's hearts. Mrs. Zhao and Mr. Zhao came in just in time to hear Linbao he's words. The old couple looked at each other with happy smiles on their faces. Regardless of whether they were satisfied or not with their daughter's choice, they were glad that they were not judgmental parents-in-law. Because the original cause has the current effect. It's not that they are like this because they have benefited from their daughters, but that only in this way can their daughters live a happier life. As parents, don't they want their children to live a happy life? In the afternoon, Chusya went to school for 2 classes and came back. She saw sisters Fang Jingzi and Fang Jing'ai sitting in the hall chatting animatedly with Mrs. Zhao Yulan and Mrs. Zhao. She smiled and said hello, third sister-in-law, Sister Jing'ai, what's wrong with you, did it blow over? Fang Jingzi smiled, I haven't seen you for a few days, I miss you. As she spoke, the 2 sisters stood up and came over to greet her, supporting her on the left and right. Chusya smiled helplessly, don't be like this, it's just like helping a disabled person, I'm fine. What you said? Fang Jingzi glared at her helplessly, our actions are just out of habit. It expresses our missing and closeness to you. Let you say this. She shook her head and said nothing. Go on. Okay, it's my fault. It's your fault in the first place. We are very close to each other in terms of titles, but you always treat us as outsiders in your heart. Fang Jingzi reached out and touched her belly. Do you feel uncomfortable when you sleep at night? Fortunately, you just have to be careful when turning over. My mother is sleeping with me these days. Chusya said while sighing, just look at the dark circles under my mother's eyes. I said it's okay, but she insisted. I wanted to go over and accompany her, but I couldn't sleep well all night, for fear that she wouldn't hear me when I went to the toilet. In fact, I can do nothing by myself now. Be careful and you won't make a big mistake. Zhao Yulan said as she stood up, you sisters, let's talk. I'll go to the garden to pick some fresh vegetables. We'll make dumplings for dinner tonight. Jingzi Jing'ai, you guys are not allowed to leave. Don't worry, third aunt, we will definitely not leave. Fang Jingzi joked with a smile, third aunt's craftsmanship is so good, she would not leave even if she tried to force us to leave, let alone sincerely keep us. If you really think my craftsmanship is good, you will come here more often in the future, but... Zhao Yulan looked at the 2 sisters with a smile, I will ask you to help me when making dumplings later, but don't think I'm bossing people around. Third aunt, that's what we like about you. You don't treat us as outsiders at all. You want us to come here to eat and drink for free. We are really embarrassed to come here often. Fang Jing'ai said and stood up and took Zhao Yulan's arm. I'll accompany you to pick vegetables, and let my sister chat with Chu Xia. Judging from what she said, Fang Jingzi must have something to do with her daughter, and Zhao Yulan responded happily. Aunt Qin went to the market to buy meat, and Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao went to Wan Lao's place. In a blink of an eye, Chu Xia and Fang Jingzi were left in the hall. Third sister-in-law, tell me what you have to say, Chu Xia said. Has your third brother been here recently? Fang Jingzi asked after hesitation. No, Chu Xia shook her head. Third sister-in-law hasn't seen third brother recently. Is there something wrong between you two? I don't know either. Fang Jingzi frowned and said apologetically, you are already so old, and I am still bothering you. I'm quite embarrassed, but I'm not with the Lin family. You are the most familiar with it, and I was afraid that if I delayed it any longer, I wouldn't be able to solve it, so I had no choice but to come here shamelessly. What are you talking about? Chu Xia glared at her dissatisfied. I have already called you third sister-in-law, and you are still so polite to me. Isn't it too shameful? Tell me what happened. The problem is, I don't know what happened between me and your third brother. Sighing, Fang Jingzi said, you also know that when I get along with your third brother, I have always taken care of him. After all, I am several years older than him, and I am used to this pattern. Therefore, for a long time, no matter what happens, he seeks my opinion, I give him suggestions, and then the two of us discuss and decide. He never had any objections to this, and even told me that he was lucky to have found a good wife like me who could give him some pertinent advice instead of just being a yes man. But since 2 months ago, he suddenly hated me for helping him make decisions. He even quarreled with me a few times because I gave him advice. I asked him what the problem was, and he said there was no problem. At the beginning, I thought that maybe he was in a bad mood and it was just right, so he was so easily irritable. But after 2 months, he was still in that state, and I felt something was wrong. You also know that we have agreed to get married in October. Some time ago, he always looked forward to the days together after marriage, but now, he doesn't even mention it. At the beginning, I warned myself not to be too sensitive and think too much, but after such a long time, I couldn't tolerate not thinking too much. No matter what the problem was, whether he wanted to marry me or not, as long as he told me the truth, I would accept it. Early summer, I have been holding this in my mind for a long time. I was embarrassed to trouble you because I was worried about you being pregnant. However, my sister woke me up yesterday. If I keep putting it off like this, it will get worse. That day, I thought I had nothing to regret. Moreover, if I let you know the reason why I hesitated to tell you, you would definitely not be happy. So, after thinking about it all night, Jing'ai and I came over. In early summer, if Lin Wenjie comes over these days, please help me ask him what happened. If he falls in love with someone else, I won't hold him back. Fate cannot be forced. Let him rest assured. Third sister-in-law, you are already engaged. Third brother is not the kind of person who is always in a hurry. I guess there must be some misunderstanding. After a pause, Chu Xia said, well, I will give it to third brother now. Call him and ask him to come over for dinner tonight and you two can have a good talk, okay? I don't want to talk to him. Fang Jingzi rejected Chu Xia's proposal without thinking. I asked him to talk before, and he always said it was nothing, but afterwards, he still went his own way. I think he has something to hide and is too embarrassed to tell me, so he doesn't have to tell me in person. Chu Xia, please excuse me, okay? Okay, the other party said this, and Chu Xia couldn't hold on any longer, so she readily agreed. To be honest, she liked Fang Jingzi very much, and she didn't want the relationship between the other party and Lin Wenjie to end like this, so, if she can help the other party, she will be very happy. Third sister-in-law, I know very well how torturous the waiting process is. Let's do this. I'm going to call third brother now and ask him why. If he doesn't tell me, I'll ask the eldest brother and ask him to find out. Okay. Good. After hesitating for a moment, Fang Jingzi nodded in agreement. Lin Wenjie was surprised when he received Chu Xia's call. Lin Wenjie felt very close to this little cousin who had returned halfway. However, the little cousin had always been close to his eldest brother. Although he and his fourth brother were close to him, they had never taken the initiative to contact him. Chu Xia didn't talk in circles with him and asked straightforwardly what she wanted to ask. After being stunned for a long time, Lin Wenjie said, "She went to find you." Yes, Chu Xia admitted frankly, if it weren't for the fact that there was nothing else I could do, third sister-in-law wouldn't have come to me. You can probably imagine how difficult it would be to say something like this. If third brother really took me seriously, she's my sister, just tell me everything, okay? Lin Wenjie hesitated and remained silent for a long time. Third brother, no matter what the reason is, I have always respected third brother. Lin Wenjie had a black line on his face. Was he trying to provoke him? In fact, during this period of time, he was also suffering a lot in his heart. He had made a decision, but no one dared to say it, including his parents, because he knew that if he said it, everyone would definitely stop him. As for his fiancée, of course he knows how she feels, and he feels very distressed. However, what he hopes more is that if one day, something really happens, she will not be too sad because of her disappointment. It's okay, Lin Wenjie gritted his teeth and said to Chu Xia. It's okay, you can't do this to third sister-in-law. Since third brother doesn't believe me, I won't force you to ask more questions. Let's do this. I'll call eldest brother later. No, 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 Lin Wenjie said anxiously. Chu Xia, don't go to the eldest brother, it's the third brother who begs you, okay? Third brother, I was forced. Lin Wenjie. Third brother, goodbye. Before Lin Wenjie could come to his senses, the call had been hung up. He was stunned and hurriedly called his younger cousin. What a joke, if the other party found his eldest brother, and he had tried so hard to hide it for so long, wouldn't it be in vain? After hanging up the phone, Chu Xia didn't really call Lin Wenbin right away. 10 seconds later, the ringing tone rang. A smile appeared on her lips. After waiting for 3 seconds, she answered the phone. Hello. Chu Xia, it's me. Lin Wenjie on the other end of the phone had a bitter look on his face. Hearing his little cousin's serious greeting, he really didn't know what to say. She was just trying to provoke him. Is it necessary to look like this? Well, knowing that the other party is provoking him, he still has to take the move, which is really depressing. Seeing Chu Xia coming out of the room, Fang Jingzi looked at her anxiously and expectantly. At the beginning of this relationship, she was a little repelled. After all, the other party was several years younger than her. She was not sure that the other party was hot-headed. She still really likes him, but after being together for so long, she has unknowingly fallen into it, otherwise, she would not agree to get engaged to him. Now that something like this suddenly happened, she said that the other party wanted to let go and that she would not persist, but in her heart she was very, very afraid that the speculation would become reality. Third sister-in-law. Chu Xia sat next to Fang Jingzi and looked at her with soft eyes. I can tell you for sure that third brother has not changed his mind, nor has he fallen in love with anyone else. Breathing a sigh of relief, Fang Jingzi asked, what next? Then, biting her lip, Chu Xia looked serious. If the third brother wants to do something very dangerous, will you stop him, or will you support him? Fang Jingzi straightened up unconsciously. He wants to go to the front line. Chu Xia nodded, yes, but the Lin family doesn't know it yet, so when I threatened him to find my eldest brother, he had no choice but to tell me the truth. After being silent for a while, Fang Jingzi asked, why did he do this? He doesn't want all the burden to fall on his eldest brother, and he doesn't like the way his second brother handles things, nor does he like the way his second uncle handles things. In order to prevent the Lin family's right to speak from becoming too complicated in the future, he said that he must work hard. He also said that it is very difficult to make this determination, but he hopes that he can really protect you from wind and rain in the future, not just for everything. Let you worry about him. In other words, he actually minds if I give him ideas. No, I specifically asked him if that was the reason, and he said no, he just feels sorry for you and doesn't want you to have such a difficult life because of him. Sighing, Fang Jingzi said, I don't feel uncomfortable. I like this feeling. It makes me feel that I am still useful. I am not like others said, just because of his background, I am with him. Or maybe there's still a lack of communication between you. Anyway, that's what I asked. He also said that I hope you can forgive him. During this period, he doesn't want to contact you. Of course, these are his exact words. As for what third sister-in-law wants to do, third sister-in-law naturally has to make her own decision. Chu Xia patted her hand encouragingly, no matter what third sister-in-law plans to do, I support it. Chu Xia, please tell your third aunt that you're sorry. Fang Jingzi stood up, I have to go find Lin Wenjia now. Jing Ai, please tell her and let her go home after dinner. Okay, Chu Xia smiled playfully at the other party, I guess we will be able to eat the wedding candies from the third brother and the third sister-in-law soon. I hope so. Fang Jingzi smiled at her and trotted out the door. After the other party left, Chu Xia frowned. This was no small matter. Since she already knew, shouldn't she hide it from her eldest brother? But, thinking about her promise to Lin Wenjia, she felt a little hesitant. After pondering for a while, someone finally came up with a solution. What is the teacher's tube for? No use, no use. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1021. About 5 minutes after Fang Jingzi left, Fang Jing'ai and Zhao Yulan came back with a large basket of vegetables. They didn't see their sister. Fang Jing'ai looked at Chu Xia with confusion. Third sister-in-law left first. Chu Xia smiled at Fang Jing'ai. Third sister-in-law also told sister Jing'ai to stay here for dinner, and she will come over in the evening in order to make Fang Jing'ai stay with peace of mind, she said, a little white lie. Okay, after hearing what Chu Xia said, Fang Jing'ai happily agreed. Her sister's matter could be solved, and she could finally let go of a stone in her heart. As for staying at the Lin family to eat, she certainly didn't reject it, nor would she feel uncomfortable. Before she knew the personalities of Lin Baohe and his wife quite well, let alone Chu Xia. Compared to the atmosphere of her own home, she actually liked the Lin family more. Third aunt, let me chop the stuffing. Fang Jing'ai looked at Zhao Yulan and demanded. If she stays to eat, she naturally has to help, otherwise, she will be freeloading. Okay, Zhao Yulan was not polite to her. The Fang sisters often came here. She liked them very much and understood their personalities, so she would not be pretentious with them. I'm just waiting to finish eating. Chu Xia leaned back leisurely with a look of comfort on her face. Is there anyone happier than me in this little life? You should do some activities. Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter funny. Your grandma and grandpa have gone to Wan Lao's house. You give them a call and ask Wan Lao's family to come over to eat together in the evening, and then give Chi Lao make a call over there too, and don't leave the old family behind. Okay, Chuxia responded while picking up the phone. After finishing the round of notifications, she looked at Zhao Yulan and smiled happily. There are so many people to eat, mother, don't skip the noodles. If your mother can't even do such a small thing well, she'll be in real trouble. Zhao Yulan glared at her daughter, turned around and walked to the kitchen, but heard her daughter say leisurely from behind, Mom, you forgot Meng Ran is here, and they will come over tonight, so, hee. Do you need to remind me? I have already counted them, Zhao Yulan said without looking back. Also, these days, my friends are all here to settle the dinner. I should treat them as part of my family, so why do I need extra notice? Someone was muttering boredly here, and a few friends came in arm. Look at your comfortable little appearance. Lin Mengran stepped forward and touched Chuxia's belly. You look so much like a frog basking in the sun. Chuxia. Is there any way to describe people? Have you ever seen a frog basking in the sun? Yang Xiaoli looked at Lin Mengran with a puzzled look on her face. Are you sure the frog won't die in the sun? Or half dead in the sun? Don't you understand this? Lin Mengran looked at her with disdain. When I was a child, I often saw frogs basking in the sun. Their expressions were very similar to the youngest's just now. Lin Mengran. Chuxia glared at her bitterly. Try describing it like this again. Hee. Lin Mengran smiled sheepishly. I was just making a metaphor. I didn't say you were like a frog, right? Seeing someone clenching his fists, he quickly changed his words. I was wrong. I was wrong, I should say. Your expression just now looked like a cat basking in the sun, so cute. Get lost, Chuxia glared at her. Go and help in the kitchen. We're going to have dumplings tonight, and it's better for the whole family to eat together. Don't just talk here, get started. Li Xinlai was the first to turn around and quickly entered the kitchen, followed by Wu Jingbo and Yang Xiaoli. Lin Mengran hesitated and smiled at Chuxia. I don't know anything, please arrange some other work for me. Early summer. Don't look at me like that. Lin Mengran stepped forward and shook Chuxia's arm. When I was at home, the garlic paste I used to dip the dumplings in was made by me. Chuxia had no choice but to wave to her. Okay. Then go ahead and pound the garlic. Lin Mengran ran to the kitchen, asked for a few heads of garlic, and came out with a garlic mortar. I'll talk to you while I work, otherwise it would be boring for you to stay here by yourself. You want me to peel garlic for you, right? You can't wrongly accuse someone like this. Lin Mengran glared at Chuxia dissatisfied. Am I that kind of person? I only have such a small job, do I need your help? Let me tell you, when I was at home, my whole family was eating dumplings, and I had to peel a bunch of garlic and pound it into minced garlic. I never asked anyone for help. Chuxia had a dark line. Does the large family you mentioned have to have hundreds of people? There are more than 200 people, Lin Mengran sighed, but that was in the beginning, when so many people gathered together, it was very lively and harmonious. Later, such big gatherings became less and less frequent, because grandma's health became worse and worse, and there were more and more messy things to worry about. In total, it has not been this lively for 5 or 6 years. I really can't imagine the scene you mentioned. Chuxia reached out and patted her shoulder. However, there are too many people, and it is normal for fights and conflicts to occur. If you want that kind of scene to happen again in the future, then redouble your efforts and let the Lin family flourish under your hands. Then, when you get together again, I can go and experience it. Lin Mengran curled her lips. Okay, don't comfort me. I know very well how many pounds I have. It would be good if I can make them accept me. I still want to make them cohesive. Are you dreaming? That's not necessarily true. Chuxia slapped her forehead fiercely. By the way, there is a question I have forgotten to ask you. Now it seems that Zhou Zhang is very likely to become the successor of the Zhou family. and you have a high chance of becoming the successor of the Lin family. What if you both become the family's key training targets? We have already discussed this issue. If he becomes the successor of the Zhou family first, I will not compete for the successor of the Lin family. If I become the successor of the Lin family first, he will not compete for the successor of the Zhou family. He said that there is another suitable candidate on their side, which is his second cousin. On our side, it seems that if I don't fight, it will probably be Lin Menjai's. Although I am a little unwilling to let her get her wish, but think about it, my lifelong happiness is quite important. There is no need to compromise my own happiness just to be unwilling, don't you think? What you said makes sense. Chu Xia sighed, however, your approach is really passive. Why can't you each compete for your own successor, and it will be mutually beneficial after you get married? If the elders have objections to this, you two can convince them. Speaking of it, the business scopes of the two companies do not conflict, and they can even reach some cooperation. There is a saying that the good news should not flow to outsiders, right? We have thought about the possibility you mentioned, but the chance of success is too small. Moreover, I don't want us to be too busy. Whether it is his family or my family, the one who is the successor, it will definitely be as busy as clockwork. I don't want to find out when we are old that although we are husband and wife, we have not been together for long, and I don't want my child to grow crooked because of our negligence. It's quite long-term thinking. Chu Xia looked at her funny, I just mentioned it casually. Since you are concerned about this, I won't say more. However, I won't say who the successor of the Zhou family will be. In your family, if your sister is appointed as the successor, then all your efforts will be in vain, and the future development of the Lin family can be predicted. Are you willing to do so? I'm not willing to give in, but... Lin Mengran sighed and smiled bitterly. If that's true, it only means that the Lin family is angry and can't blame anyone. Chu Xia stopped persuading her. Okay, as long as you think so. I don't want to think like this, but I have no other way but to comfort myself like this. Lin Mengran shook her head. Forget it, let's forget about these troublesome things for now. Then, she switched topic. Sister Jing Ai is here, why isn't Sister Jingzi here? Third sister-in-law came here with Sister Jing Ai, and now she is going to find your third brother. Chu Xia answered concisely, which made Lin Mengran confused. Why are we in such a hurry to find your third brother? R1152. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1022. Popular recommendations. Updated today. What's weird about this? You are allowed to quarrel but others are not allowed to quarrel. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran speechlessly, expressing contempt for her fuss. It's different. I have a fiery personality. It's not strange to quarrel. Sister Jingzi is different. She's so gentle, how can she possibly get into a quarrel? Moreover, she is so full of ideas and has always been a good helper to your third brother. Your third brother should have loved her before it was too late, so how could he possibly quarrel with her? Is there any misunderstanding between them? Early summer, have you asked? Let me tell you, this honesty between lovers is very important. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran with a funny face. What do you think means that you have suffered the loss of not being honest? Someone just smiled and said nothing. You actually got me right. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran with a curious look on her face. Just like you are not honest about something like this? Tell me about it, okay? Actually, it's nothing. Lin Mengran coughed unnaturally. It's just that I told Zhejiang that I had never liked boys, but it turned out that he said that he already knew that I had liked Zouqian, and then he ignored me for 2 days. You are really stupid. Chu Xia looked at her speechlessly. When you first entered school, anyone who wasn't a fool could see your feelings for Zouqian, not to mention that Zhejiang and Zouqian were divorced so close. Who said it wasn't right? Lin Mengran tugged at her hair in annoyance. Afterwards, I felt like my brain was kicked by a donkey. The atmosphere was originally quite good, so why should I talk too much? Did you bring it up yourself? Early summer. This shows that you really like Zhejiang. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Therefore, you should tell Zhejiang the reason it took a long time before Chu Xia came up with such words to comfort him. I won't tell him, otherwise he will be even more disgusting. Lin Mengran raised his head and looked at Chu Xia with a confused look. Have you ever doubted your relationship with Mr. Zhou? Chu Xia's expression became serious. Boss, you are not such a sensitive person. You are just having a small conflict. Why do you want to elevate the problem to such a high level? No, after hesitating, he looked at the kitchen again and found that everyone was busy doing their own thing and no one paid attention to them. Lin Mengran said, the reason why I made such a superfluous confession is because Zhejiang and San Xiao Shumei from my class is very close. As you know, Xiao Shumei is prettier than me and has a better family background. To be honest, I have no confidence that I can compete with her. After thinking for a while, Chu Xia said, Zhejiang is not that kind of person. Have you misunderstood something? You know my character in Chu Xia. I'm not sensitive or suspicious at all. Even I feel it, let alone others. I used to feel strange why every time I leave from class 3, a few of them, they deliberately pulled me to speed up the pace. It wasn't until I saw Zhejiang and Xiao Shumei walking together talking and laughing that I realized that they were probably afraid that Xiao Shumei and I would meet. In fact, Xiao Shumei came to me later and said that she felt that she and Zhejiang were more suitable than me and Zhejiang, and she told me to let go as soon as possible to avoid misleading others and myself. She and Zhejiang grew up together, and the elders of both families wanted them to be together. The reason why she was admitted to the medical university was to be with Zhejiang. She said that if it weren't for the fact that she came to school later, and will not let Zhejiang and I develop to this point. I didn't believe it at first, but when I asked Zhejiang and Xiao Shumei if they were childhood sweethearts, Zhejiang admitted it, so that means everything Xiao Shumei said was true. In early summer, I was actually very angry with Zhejiang. Why did he agree to be with me when he already had someone he liked? However, I don't dare to break it out with him. In that case, we probably won't be able to be together. They didn't know that I had asked Zhejiang about this, and they thought they were hiding it from me, and I didn't have the courage to tell them. Thinking about it with your toes, you know that if I tell Zhejiang, they will definitely separate me from Zhejiang and go to settle accounts with Zhejiang, but in that case, there will be no relationship between Zhejiang and me. I myself despise my own cowardice. If I had known someone else was so tolerant before, I would have been the first to look down on her. But now that it's me, I don't have the courage to face it. Do you know how I feel these days? Sighing, Lin Mengran smiled bitterly. Even if Lin Menjai treated me like that before, I have never lost hope in life. But now, whenever I think of being separated from Zhejiang one day, my heart hurts terribly. Although you are the youngest among us, you are the wisest and the most understanding. Can you give me some advice? What should I do best? That person named Xiao Shumei had met him several times in early summer. She was also considered one of the celebrities in the school. She came to the school to report only 3 months after the school started. At first, she was ostracized by her classmates, but after several exams, she no longer had any doubts about her. At the same time, because of her good looks and good grades, many boys in the school were very attentive to her, but she did not expect that there is still such a past between him and Zhejiang. If it was really like what Lin Mengran said, she would have to put a question mark on Zhejiang's character. However, due to the difference in thinking between men and women, there are often some misunderstandings between men and women. Therefore, without asking in person before that, it was really hard to draw conclusions. After a moment of silence, Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran, who was peeling garlic with his head hanging down. Don't you think you should have a good talk with Zhejiang? I cannot. The consequence of not daring is that your condition will get worse and worse, and... Sighing, Chu Xia snatched the garlic clove from her hand. Don't hang your head, raise your head and listen to me. I'll listen to you all the same, Lin Mengran said as he snatched the garlic clove back. Don't delay my work. Early summer. After waiting for Chu Xia's voice for a long time, Lin Mengran quietly glanced at the other party. Seeing that the other party was looking at her helplessly, she smiled coquettishly. Okay, I'll listen carefully. As he spoke, he put down his work. Sit down solemnly. Actually, you know what to do yourself. You are just escaping. Chu Xia spread her hands. You asked me to persuade you, but you just wanted me to help you make up your mind. Yes, Lin Mengran did not deny it. Indeed, I know that in order to truly solve the problem between us, we must talk openly and honestly, but I have been afraid of the outcome of the discussion, so I put it off. Drag again. He asked me several times why I was so depressed, and I said it was nothing. In fact, with his intelligence, how could he not see that I was lying? However, he didn't ask any more questions. The more this happens, the less sure I feel. If I break up with him, Lin Menjai will be the happiest person, and I don't know how to face my grandparents. Why are all your worries because of others? Chu Xia frowned and looked at her. I always thought you were straightforward, but I didn't expect you to be so indecisive when things really happened. If it is really like what you guessed, no matter if you say it sooner or later, the result will be the same, and saying it late will only make the result worse. If it is not what you guessed, your yin and yang attitude will definitely, after breaking Zhejiang's heart, it will take a lot of trouble to go back to the way he was before. Extending your head is a knife, and shrinking your head is also a knife. You might as well be brave. Don't forget, you are our boss. If you want us to call you boss, you must act like a boss, right? Okay, I'll try my best. Lin Mengran sighed, still looking wistful. Why do people have to grow up? Why do they have to face these messy things? It's so annoying. What are you bothering about? Yang Xiaoli came out and looked at Lin Mengran with a puzzled look on her face. The boss has been in a bad state recently. Is there something he's hiding from us? It's you who are hiding something from me, and you said that I'm hiding something from you. Lin Mengran rolled her eyes at her. Now that I'm a couple with Ouyi, you don't care about my life or death, huh? Yang Xiaoli blushed and looked at Chu Xia. What kind of disease does she have? I won't get involved. Chu Xia spread her hands. You can figure it out for yourself. It's not like this. Yang Xiaoli sat down next to Chu Xia in a flattering manner. Tell me, the boss has a bit of a temper recently, and I don't dare to offend her. For the sake of everyone's stability and unity, can you give me a reminder? Do you want to say something? Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran. Lin Mengran rolled her eyes at Yang Xiaoli and said, Go ahead. What have you been hiding from the boss lately? We didn't. Yang Xiaoli suddenly stopped and sneered. Aren't we doing that just to make the boss happy? Then she looked at Lin Mengran. You know everything. Nonsense. Do you think I'm really a fool? Lin Mengran snorted. I'm just too lazy to expose you. Besides, I also want to see if you deliberately switched sides because you got along with Ouyi. Yang Xiaoli had a dark line. Am I that kind of person? Actually, we wanted to tell you before, but thinking about Zhejiang's character, we thought it was impossible, so we asked Ouyi to help us check it out. But until now, he has not given a definite answer. Anyway, we have been waiting for such a long time. We are thinking, don't wait any longer. Boss, what kind of relationship do we have? Do you think we will do it on purpose? Are we hiding it from you? If we are really sure, we will not only tell you, but we will also go together to vent your anger. Okay, don't just say nice things. Lin Mengran rolled her eyes at her. If I hadn't asked, would you have thought that I was kept in the dark like a fool? Your eyes are almost rolling out of your head. Yang Zili smiled helplessly. So, it's hard to be a good person. If it weren't to save you from worry, would we have to do this? Why don't you let Zhejiang come over and have dinner together? Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran. You go find him. After dinner, we can all have a chat. If it's not convenient for you to ask, let's ask him, okay? It's better not to do it. This is too awkward. Lin Mengran shook his head and rejected Chu Xia's proposal. I have thought about it. I will ask him personally tomorrow. This is my own business and I have to face it myself. Chu Xia nodded. Okay, you can do whatever you say. Anyway, we support you. Several families gathered together and sat at two large tables, one for the elders and one for the juniors. Qian Yan and her brother and sister were familiar with Chu Xia, and they could only be considered acquaintances with the others, so they acted a little reserved. After dinner after that, the siblings quickly withdrew. As soon as the siblings left, Lin Mengran lowered her voice and said, the influence of the environment on people is really great. When I met Qian Yan before, I felt a bit arrogant and domineering. Now I see that she is a very gentle girl, son. Chu Xia answered with a smile, the mentality is different, and the behavior is naturally different. De Kun, too, was very shy before, but now he talks more. Does this mean you talk too much? Lin Mengran shrugged, expressing his disapproval. That's because you haven't met him before, and you have great ideas, but you will never say a word. Today, although you are a little reserved, you are talking and laughing with you. Didn't you see that when Grandpa Wan looked over? Are you particularly satisfied? Here they are talking about the siblings, and over there, the siblings are also chatting about today's events. Sister, is it bad for us to leave like this? Qiandekan looked at Qian Yan and asked. Sister Chuxia is very good to us. She still has so many friends here. Isn't it too disrespectful for us to leave like this? Are you embarrassed? She's not so petty. Qian Yan glanced at her brother and said funnily, Dekan, I've never seen you care so much about anyone before. Is it because Chu Xia is so good looking that you are particularly willing to be with her? Together. Nonsense. Qiandekan blushed and glared at Qian Yan. Sister, if you say such things again, I will ignore you. What will brother-in-law Joe think if he hears it? Okay, I won't talk anymore. Qian Yan smiled and touched his head. I was just joking with you, but to be honest, I envy Lin Chuxia. There are so many friends who really get along with her. She sighed. Ever since I was a child, this is the kind of life I have been looking forward to most, but fortunately, now at least I can live happily with my relatives. Sister. Qiandekan nodded his chin forward. That woman is hanging around our door again. Looking in the direction her brother pointed, Qian Yan's face turned cold. Of course she knew who this woman was, but her grandfather was already married. How shameless was it for her to act like this? With this thought in mind, he quickened his pace and moved forward. When the woman saw this, she turned around and ran away. Stop, Qian Yan shouted. Seeing that the other party was still running, she said, if you run again, I will tell my mother. I can tell you, my mother is not as good-tempered as me. If you don't believe it, just try it, or 1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1023. Sister, what are you going to do? Qiandekan raised his head and glanced at Qian Yan, who had been sitting there silently since the call came back. Do you want to tell Grandpa and Mother? After staring at Qiandekan in confusion for a while, Qian Yan sighed, I don't know. Actually. After hesitating for a while, Qiandekan continued, actually, she is quite pitiful, Isn't she? She is quite pitiful, but... Qian Yan frowned and looked at her brother, but you don't know how Aunt Yin treats our family. It's not worth it if she feels uncomfortable because of an outsider. Hey, Qiandakan sighed heavily, sister, if even grandpa doesn't help her, she will probably die. If something like that really happens, grandpa will definitely feel guilty if he finds out. We both feel uncomfortable. After thinking about it for a while, Qian Yan said, how about we wait until grandpa comes back, and let's tell him what we are going to do, and let grandpa make his own decision. Let's talk to Aunt Yin as well. We have been together for so long, and we have seen that Aunt Yin is a reasonable person. I believe that if we tell her the truth, she will definitely not be angry with grandpa. Qiandakan nodded, okay, sister, you can talk to Aunt Yin when the time comes, and I'll talk to grandpa. After a moment of silence, Qian Yan suddenly said, Dakan, do you think it would be rude for us to always call Aunt Yin? Speaking of which, she should be our grandma now. Or, let's change our name. This will also make people happy. She feels better, don't you think? I have no objection. In fact, as soon as my grandpa got married, I wanted to change my mind. Seeing that my sister and mother didn't change my mind, I shouted after you. After a pause, Qiandakan added, in addition, Lin Chuxia and the others didn't change their words, so I didn't mention it. We are different from them. We are grandpa's biological grandchildren. Our names represent the new grandma's position in the family. Let's do it this way. When mom comes back, we will also tell her whether grandpa will help or not. That woman named Sunday, what we do is always right. Okay, Qiandakan agreed happily. What he had looked forward to most since he was a child was to live with relatives who were truly close to him. Now that his goal has been achieved, he is extremely satisfied. But he is also afraid that one day this happiness will be broken. Therefore, as long as it is a good suggestion for the family, he will definitely agree with his hands. Sister hesitated. Qiandakan looked at Qian Yan. Grandpa went to school to find me the day before yesterday. What's the matter with him? Qian Yan sat up straight unconsciously, with a look on her face. Just say you miss me. Go see me and ask me to come home often to see him. He also said that grandma has been in poor health recently and misses me so much, and that I am unfilial and my love for me is in vain. I knew it was this way. Qian Yan interrupted him, don't pay attention, he doesn't really miss you at all. What he wants is that you are the descendant of the Qian family, and he wants you to help him bring glory to the Qian family. Sister. Qiandakan looked at Qian Yan hesitantly, actually, I really hope that grandpa can think about it. Dad is gone, and they are quite pitiful. If they really think about it, let's just be filial to them, okay? Are you soft-hearted? Qian Yan glared at her brother dissatisfied. When he came to you to say soft words, you believed him and thought about going back. How did they treat you before? It's not like you didn't know. If they hadn't forcibly separated you from your mother, would you have suffered so much? The relationship between mother and father will not become so bad, and father and that woman will not develop to that point. In short, everything is caused by their original selfishness. If they make a mistake, they will be punished. Why should we forgive them so easily? Sister, I don't want to forgive them, I just feel that they are not young anymore. Even if they are healthy, how many years can they live? We are juniors, and there are some things that we can't explain clearly. Don't worry about it, okay? I can't do it. Qian Yan looked at her brother disappointedly. I always thought that when you left them to live with your mother, you really thought that your mother and I were your relatives. It turns out that I was just being sentimental. Sister, what are you talking about? Qiandakan blushed and looked at his sister. Of course, the most important thing in my heart is my mother and sister. I am proposing this now just to see how skinny my grandpa is. Will be soft-hearted. What they did before was wrong, and I won't make excuses for them, but Dad is no longer here. Do we need to live in hatred all the time? Do you have a sense of right and wrong? Qianyan glared at her younger brother. What kind of soup did he give you to make you turn to him like this all of a sudden? Even Grandma told us to stay away from him in the future. Don't have anything to do with him. You're still speaking for him now. Qiandakan, what's wrong with you? Okay, I was wrong, sister, don't be angry. Qiandakan quickly stepped forward and took his sister's arm and shook her. It's not that I don't have a sense of right and wrong. Sister, you didn't see Grandpa. I believe, if you saw it, you would definitely feel soft-hearted. After a moment of silence, Qianyan looked at her brother. Are you very thin? Yeah, Qiandakan nodded vigorously. Let me put it this way, we haven't seen each other for only a few months. If you met him on the street, you would definitely not recognize him. He is absolutely skinny now. I asked him why he was so skinny. He said he missed me and his father. I asked him if he was sick and he said no. However, I always felt that he did not tell me the truth, because when he said that he was not sick, he was particularly flustered, as if he was deliberately hiding something. I suspect that Grandpa is really seriously ill, but he is afraid to tell us about it. Or maybe he feels guilty towards us because he is ill. Did you come to find me on purpose? I'll ask around later. Qianyan sighed. She couldn't express her feelings. She really had no feelings for her grandparents. Relatively speaking, they still loved her younger brother, and she, maybe you never thought of her as a member of the Qian family, right? But even so, she felt uncomfortable when her brother said that the old man might be seriously ill. No matter what, she was from the Qian family. No matter how much she disliked the Qian family, she didn't want the Qian family to end like this. Speaking of which, there is no difference between the Qian family now and the end of it. But who can blame it? If Grandpa hadn't taken the wrong path, would he have ended up in this situation? Thinking of this, the sourness in her heart lightened up. She glanced at her brother and saw him peeking at her with a worried look on his face. She shook her head in a funny way. Okay, I'm fine. I'm either angry with you or just thinking about it. What they did before made them angry unconsciously. Sister, if you don't want me to associate with them, I will ignore them in the future. Although I feel pitiful when I see Grandpa in his current state, sister is right. If he hadn't done something wrong before, he wouldn't do it now. I will not lose my principles even if I end up like this, sister, you can rest assured. Okay. Qianyan reached out and rubbed his head. Dakan, you are already old. No matter what decision you make, I will support you. My attitude was bad just now, and I apologize to you. No, it's my fault, Qiandakan said quickly. It's all my good intentions that made my sister angry. I promise, I won't be like this again. You are so kind, and I am very happy. So, to be honest, I am still wrong. Sister, you're right, I was wrong. Wan Yuqian pushed the door open and came in. She heard the two siblings competing to admit their mistakes, so she asked funnily, what's wrong with you two? You are admitting your mistakes one by one. Could it be that you broke Grandpa's rare thing? Mom, why are you back so early? Qianyan looked at the time and asked with a surprised look on her face, didn't you say you might have to come back very late when meeting old classmates? We all have families and families, how can we rest assured to stay late? Wan Yuqian put on her slippers and sat across from the siblings. Looking at the way you looked just now, it seems like something happened. Let's talk about it. Qianyan told her mother that Mr. Qian was looking for her younger brother, and also told her brother's thoughts. At the end, she said, Mom, I just think that my brother's heart is too easy to soften. Although kindness is a good thing, he is too kind. It's not a good thing to be easily bullied, right? This shows that Dakan is not like your father. Sighing, Wan Yuqian looked at her son seriously. "Deacon, my mother will not interfere with you in this matter. If you want to see your grandparents, go and see them, Mom won't stop you. My mother used to hate them very much. She thought it was the most intolerable thing for them to separate us mother and son from seeing each other. But now that I see you are so kind and sensible, my mother doesn't hate them so much anymore. No matter what, they are your grandparents. Your dad is gone, and some things should be done by you. Mom hopes that when you grow up, you will also be a responsible man. Thank you, Mom." Chiendican breathed a long sigh of relief. To be honest, he felt pity for his current grandparents. Compared to his grandfather, their current situation could be described as desolate. However, if his mother is unhappy because of his pity for his grandparents, then he will never forgive himself. "Silly boy, what's there to thank you for?" Wan Yuqian looked at her son speechlessly. "I'm your mother. Of course I hope you can live a happy life. If my control makes you feel depressed, then what's the point? What's the difference between what your grandparents used to do?" "Mom, don't I have a long memory?" Chiendican looked at Wan Yuqian with a stern look on his face. "It has only been such a short time, but I don't feel much about what they did to me. It's, to be continued." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1024. Updated today. Wan Yuqian didn't know how to answer her son, who said that in such a short period of time he no longer felt the hurt he had suffered from his grandparents. Subconsciously, she felt that it was inappropriate for her son to be so kind and not to hold grudges. However, would it be okay if her son really turned into a person who was determined to retaliate? Her answer was also negative. "Mom, don't worry, I won't be unprincipled." Seeing his mother's worry, Chiendican said, "I just don't hate them anymore, but I can't say I like them. Now that I see my grandpa like that, I pity him. I treat him as an ordinary old man. And considering what he has been through in the past few months, it is indeed quite pitiful. In this world, many people want to climb to higher places, and grandpa is no exception. However, he still has to climb higher even though he knows he is not capable enough. Seeing that I couldn't climb anymore, I found a ladder to put up. It turned out that the ladder was not set up properly, so I fell and became paralyzed. This is probably what Mom always said about a strong heart and a paralysis, right?" Yes. Wan Yuqian looked at her son funny. This guy actually said one thing after another. Maybe she was worried too much. The growth of a child always requires a process. If it can really be done, I don't care about everything, and I don't want to be a stepping stone, so I won't do it. Like her and her husband, they just care too much and make life worse and worse. The same goes for the father-in-law and the mother-in-law. She really can't comment on it, or maybe each of them has shortcomings, but they just don't know it. "Mom, we met Sun shaking at the door when we came back. I don't want to get into trouble with my grandparents' house anymore." Qian Yan quickly changed the topic. What is she here for? As expected, Wan Yuqian's brows also frowned. She herself had her family destroyed by a third party, so for this kind of woman, she was absolutely disgusted. She said that her ex-husband has been causing trouble for her recently. He would beat her to death when he saw her, and he went to the neighborhood committee and the Women's Federation. But it was all to no avail. She said that she could no longer stay in the city. Want to leave? Because she remembered the help her grandfather had given her in the past, she wanted to see her grandfather before leaving. She expressed her gratitude to Grandpa. I don't think she was lying. "Mom, do you want to tell Grandpa?" Chiendican answered, "Originally, my sister and I were discussing. I told my grandpa that my sister would talk to Aunt Yin, and we both wanted to change our names to Aunt Yin. Just call me Grandma, what do you think? After thinking for a while, Wan Yuqian nodded, okay, let's do as you say. This matter concerns your grandpa, so it's better to let him make his own decision. After the mother-in-law and others finished discussing it, Qian Yan brought the topic to Wan Yuqian's class reunion. Mom, didn't you guys come back until midnight from parties before? What happened this time? Hey, Wan Yuqian sighed, you kid, why do you have to find out everything? Mom is different now, so do you still have to ask me about it later? Why isn't it better than before? Qian Yan frowned dissatisfied. Those people used to always fawn over Mom, but now it's not time to use Mom, right? Mom, if they are like this, you should ignore them in the future. I think my mother's life is much more comfortable now than before. She doesn't have to look at people's faces and can do whatever they want. Do they have such a life? If we talk about background, who has a worse background than Grandpa? It's just that my grandpa is a low-key person and doesn't want to trouble anyone. Do they really think that our family has declined and there is no one left? Okay, Mom is not angry, how can you be angry? Wan Yuqian hurriedly smoothed her daughter's hair. Actually, it's understandable that they think so. After all, I used to hold them down, and now I finally have the chance to see it. Can you not be relieved that I am more unlucky than them? Are these still classmates? Qian Yan looked at her elder sister dissatisfied. You clearly know what they think and what their character is, so why do you still go to a party with them? Are you willing to go as a mother? Wan Yuqian sighed, they have to go to the company where their mother works. If they don't agree, I'm afraid they will go back to the company to complain. If just being embarrassed in front of them can make them stop pestering me, then it doesn't matter if I am embarrassed. It is better than being in trouble in the work and unable to hold my head up. Mom, you were too strong before, but now you are too weak. Qian Yan sighed, I now know who De Kun's character is like. In fact, Mom is like that in her heart. Wan Yuqian smiled bitterly, don't try to flatter your mother. When she was young, she always blamed your grandma and your grandpa. If she hadn't been so ignorant, your grandma wouldn't have died so early. Thinking about it now, Mom feels that she was really not a human being back then, and she was not worthy of being a child at all. Indeed, for the Qian family, Mom did her best, but for your grandma and your grandpa, she was simply raising them. A wolf raised for nothing. De Kun is different from his mother. Although your grandparents have always kept him with him and often don't see his mother, and even say a lot of bad things about his mother in his ears, he does not hate his mother. When my mother was at her most vulnerable, she gave up everything to stay with her. Speaking of which, God really loves her so much. My mother used to be so ignorant. Not only was she not punished, but she was also rewarded with a pair of treasures. With you by my side, Mom feels like the happiest person in the world, really. She looked at a pair of children with an expression that was indescribably serious. Qian Yan and Qian De Kun sat next to Wan Yuqian and hugged her tightly. When Mr. Wan and Mrs. Yan entered the door, they saw such a scene. The old couple looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. Dad, Auntie, Grandpa, Grandma. The names of the three mothers made Aunt Yin blush, and Mr. Wan also had a puzzled look on his face. Ever since he married Aunt Yin, his daughter still called Aunt Yin the same as before. He didn't correct her, so he felt that anyway. Yin, his sister-in-law, is not much older than his daughter, and coupled with his previous relationship with his daughter, he doesn't want to make everyone unhappy because of this kind of thing. He even comforted Mrs. Yin in private, and she said she didn't mind it at all and even liked this model. If everyone suddenly changed their tune, she would really not adapt. But why did you suddenly change your words? Dad, Aunt, let's have tea. Wan Yuqian pretended not to see the doubts in her father and stepmother's eyes, and poured water for them and put it on the table. Sit down and let's talk as a family. The old couple sat down like puppets, not knowing what medicine the other party was selling. Grandpa, we just unanimously decided that since we are already a family, we should use the same name. Therefore, we decided to change our names. Moreover, this way, it is also easier for outsiders to understand the relationship between our family, Jian Yan explained. Why did you suddenly have this idea? Mr. Wan looked at his daughter and family seriously. What happened? Dad, nothing's wrong. Mr. Wan glared. I'm not a fool. If you have anything, just say it quickly. I don't like to be lied to. The three mothers looked at each other, and finally Wan Yuqiang spoke up and told her daughter and son about meeting Sun Shiking at the door. This was also her temporary decision. Since the old man was suspicious, if they could defeat each other one by one. But it really made Mrs. Yan think too much. Hey. With a sigh, Mr. Wan shook his head. It's just a casual thing for me to help her. There's nothing to worry about. It doesn't matter whether I see her or not. Let's meet. Sister-in-law Yan said, I know that you are worried about my thoughts, so you want to avoid it like this. In fact, it is not necessary. I understand what you are thinking and will not misunderstand. Do not worry. Let's forget it. Mr. Wan waved his hand. The original misunderstanding was caused by helping others. Why bother asking for trouble again? Sister-in-law Yan was not unhappy with Mr. Wan's attitude, but she was a kind-hearted person and had been disliked by her husband's family. Now she felt some sympathy for Sun Shiking. After hesitating for a while, he still said, it's not easy for a woman to make trouble to this extent, or maybe she wants to ask you for help, but it's hard to tell in front of Yanyan and Akan. If you can help, let's lend a hand. Otherwise, let's go together, which will not cause her to misunderstand, but also make our attitude clear. What do you think? Okay, I'll listen to you. After his wife said this, she seemed to feel guilty when she retorted, so Mr. Wan agreed happily. Wan Yuqiang listened on the side and sighed secretly. It would be better if Sun Shiking was sensible, but if he was unreasonable, it would seem like a demonstration for Sister Yin to go together like this. Early the next morning, the old couple went to find Sun Shiking. About a mile away from their home, there is a small bungalow of less than 10 square meters, which is Sun Shiking's home. The door was ajar. Mr. Wan came forward and kowtowed. Here we come. With a hoarse voice, Sun Shiking appeared at the door. When he saw Mr. Wan, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. When he saw Sister Yin standing aside, his face quickly darkened. Please come in. Far-fetched smiling, she took the lead into the house. A single bed, a table, a kettle, and 2 small stools were all the possessions in this family. The windows were too small, and the light in the room was barely enough to see people clearly. Please sit down, please. The conditions at home are a bit rough, but I have cleaned them up and it is quite clean. Sun Shiking pointed to 2 small stools, poured 2 glasses of water and put them on the table, then turned and sat on the bed. Mr. Wan smiled faintly at her and said, I heard from Yanyan and Akan that you were leaving, and your sister-in-law insisted on coming with me to see if there is anyone who needs help. To be continued. LWXS. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1025. Popular recommendations. Updated today. Mr. Wan's words made the smile on sister-in-law Yin's face deeper. At the same time, it also made Sun Shiking's expression darker. Everyone knew what she had been thinking. Now, Mr. Wan asked her to call sister-in-law Yin as sister-in-law in front of her. Her face is really unbearable. Seeing her discomfort, sister-in-law Yin took the initiative to sit next to her and held her hand affectionately. Sister, I have not had an easy life before, so I especially understand your suffering. I am accompanying Wan Lao here today. I'm definitely not here to make fun of you, nor am I trying to declare something to you, but I sincerely hope to help you. I. Sun Shiking lowered his head and really didn't know what to say. Could she say that she originally wanted to borrow some money from Wan Lao? Or can she say that she actually hopes that the other party can take more care of her and help her out so that she can continue to stay in the capital? She was a single woman, going to an unfamiliar place alone. God knew how scared she was. However, if she continued to stay, one day she would be beaten to death by that bastard Wang Agui. Seeing that she was still hesitating, sister-in-law Yin continued, "If you have any difficulties, just tell me. We are both women. Although our experiences cannot be said to be the same, there are similarities. I am accompanying Wan Lao here today because I want to help sincerely you. If you feel that I am uncomfortable here, I can't leave. After all, I am now married to Wan Lao, and the previous rumors about you and Wan Lao are there again. If I avoid it, I will have no regard for you or Wan Lao." "Good. Sister-in-law." Sun Shiking turned to look at sister-in-law Yin, his eyes full of apology and guilt. "I'm sorry, I did so badly before, and you still treat me like this. I really don't have the face to face you." "Hey," sister-in-law Yin sighed, "you are also afraid of being bullied. You hope you can have a stable life. I don't blame you. Yes, I really scared him." Sun Shiking rolled up his sleeves, revealing the bruises on his arms. "It was all because of him. He is really such a bastard, he only hits places covered by clothes. My body is all like this. In the past, he could still control his strength a little, but now, he is getting more and more cruel. I am afraid that if I continue like this, I will die in his hands sooner or later. Although I feel that living is boring, I will not let him beat me to death like this. Willingly. Sister-in-law, I won't hide it from you. Among the people I know in this area, the only one who is really willing to help me is your Wan Lao family. Otherwise, I won't be shameless enough to hang around your house again. Really, the only person I can turn to is Wan Lao. I have a cousin in Province H. I heard from her that the farm there hires people. I want to go to her place, but..." She bit her lip in embarrassment, "But Wang Agui stole all my money, so..." "How much do you need?" Sister-in-law Yin took out her wallet from her pocket. "I think I only brought more than 100 yuan, is it enough?" she said and looked at Wan Lao. "Have you brought any money there?" "No." Wan Lao has a black streak on his head. Is his wife too happy? It's not that he cares about money, it's just that, after all, what Sun Shiking did before was not honorable enough. He is still a little speechless that his wife can forgive him so quickly and help him willingly. However, on the other hand, wasn't it because he was willing to marry the other person because he took a fancy to the other person's kindness? Sun Shiking waved his hands repeatedly. "It doesn't have to be that much, just 50 is enough. I asked and the ticket was more than 30 yuan. When I just went there, I had no wages, so I had to save 1.5 months' living expenses, and then I could pick up the train. Don't worry, sister-in-law, when I pay my salary, I will save a part every month, and at the end of the year, I will definitely return it to you with interest. Look at you, you don't know what's going on over there. Why are you in such a hurry to talk about repaying the money?" Aunt Yin looked at her seriously. "When you get there, check the situation first. If it doesn't work, come back. After all, I have lived in the capital for so many years, I am more familiar with it than there, and I have more friends than there. When the time comes, don't you just stop living here. As for your ex-husband, it's impossible for him to know your whereabouts as clearly as a spy, right?" Sister-in-law. Sun Shiking really didn't know what to say at this moment. She never expected that sister-in-law Yin would treat her like this. The moment she saw her, she really felt that she was here to laugh at her. In her heart, she even felt resentful towards sister-in-law Yin. Why could she be favored by Wan Lao even though she was not as young and good-looking as her? Moreover, She had already inquired that Mrs. Yin first worked as Wan Lao's nanny before she had the opportunity to be Wan Lao's wife. So speaking of it, the other party's background was no better than hers. This is also the real source of her unwillingness. But now that she was really getting along with the other person, she realized how wrong she was. How could a wise man like Wan Lao marry just anyone? Xiao Sun, live a good life in the future and don't do wrong things again. Wan Lao sighed and looked at Sun Shiking seriously. I know you have no ill intentions towards me, you are just forced to do so by life. Even if you make such a move, you can only be respected if you stand upright and act straight. If your sister-in-law hadn't insisted on coming to see you this time, I would have stopped meddling in your affairs, and I wouldn't even have planned to meddle in your affairs in the future. It was originally a well-intentioned thing, but it ended up causing so much trouble for no reason. Do you think I will still dare to take care of you in the future? However, what your sister-in-law did just now made me reflect on myself. People cannot stop eating because of choking, and it is impossible to allow others not to make mistakes. However, the key is that knowing mistakes can be corrected. As long as you can live an upright life in the future and live a serious life, we will definitely not sit idly by if you need our help. After all, it is not easy for you. If you don't want to leave the capital, you can still stay. We can contact you about your job. As for your husband, if he comes to find you again and beats you again, you can call the police as soon as possible. This time, he will definitely not let him out easily. A hint of surprise flashed in Sun Shiking's eyes, but thinking of sister-in-law Yin's attitude towards her, she was really embarrassed to accept the other party's help so calmly, so she refused. Wan Lao, I'd better go to my cousin's place first. After all, I have made mistakes before. If you step in to help now, you will inevitably not let others make irresponsible remarks, especially Wang Agui. Even though he is a man, he is talkative and shameless. He can say anything. Let me tell you, you and your sister-in-law have been so good to me, I can't hurt you anymore. Wan Lao nodded. Okay, then you should go to Province H first. If you really can't stay here, just do what your sister-in-law said and come back to find a job and live a down-to-earth life. From now on, you can treat us as your brother's sister-in-law. You. Chu Xia looked at Aunt Yin with a speechless expression. She felt that she would never have the kind of ambitions that Aunt Yin and Mr. Wan had in her life. Especially sister-in-law Yin, who was provoked by the other party before, but now she can help so sincerely. Isn't it too easy to talk to? The key is, will there be a story about the farmer and the snake? Don't look at me like this, as if I'm an idiot. Sister-in-law Yin sighed, reaching out to rub Chu Xia's head. I'm not born without a temper, but I know very well what Sun Shiking's life is like. Let's put it this way, before I was transferred to Wan Lao, my life was pretty much the same as hers. The only difference was that I didn't have a husband who beat me up all day long when he had nothing to do. However, other people's opinions and gossips are the same. In fact, I don't dare to talk to any man, even if we just get along at work, I will be misunderstood. Aunt Yin, Sun Shiking is different from you. Chu Xia interrupted her. First, she took the initiative to approach Grandpa Wan and wanted to cause sabotage even though she knew that Grandpa Wan had a fiancé. Second, even if someone gossips occasionally, it is because she is not careful enough. If she can behave like you, no one will gossip about her. Based on the above 2 points, you should not put her situation and your situation together at all. They are completely different, okay? Don't you think you are too much of a good person? The same goes for Grandpa Wan. He suffered a loss from her once, so why did he listen to you and help her? You said you were confused, but why was he confused too? No, I have to warn him later. What nonsense are you talking about? Zhao Yulan interrupted her daughter helplessly. People of your age must deal with things differently from people of our age. When you reach this age, you will understand why Mrs. Yin did what she did. Okay, don't worry about it blindly. Your grandpa Wan has already decided on this matter, so that's it? Although she was full of unwillingness, Chu Xia had no choice but to listen to her mother. She had no choice but to do it. If she disobeyed, my mother would not let her go to school, it was so bullying. She was pregnant. How could she be bullied like this? Moreover, she firmly believed that she was right. Why was she so polite to a mistress who wanted to destroy her family? Shouldn't people be responsible for the wrong things they do? Why do you have to sympathize with others if you want others to sympathize with you? Went to school in the afternoon. Chu Xia shared her thoughts with several little sisters and got unanimous approval from everyone. They all said that Mrs. Yin was so talkative that she was simply luring the wolf into the house. It's not that serious. The woman went to Province H and can't break into the house. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran, who was talking enthusiastically. If you can break into the house like this, then this wolf must be a divine wolf. I was just making a metaphor, and I didn't really say that the other party was a wolf. Lin Mengran rolled her eyes at her. You only care about the elders in your family and don't care about me at all. You haven't spoken to Zhejiang for a few days, didn't you notice? R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1026. Is it so strange that you and Zhejiang don't talk? Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran with an indifferent expression. However, I always want to remind you, just make a proper fuss, don't always force him to show off you're in his heart. If you continue like this, you will always regret it. Did he say something to you? Lin Mengran sat up straight and looked at Chu Xia anxiously. Did he say that he no longer wants to be with me? Chu Xia looked at her speechlessly. Hasn't he made it clear to you? Why are you still struggling? Is it possible that your so-called not caring is actually a lie? I really wanted to stop arguing with him at that time, but the more I thought about it when I came back, the more uncomfortable I felt. Lin Mengran sighed. He also said it himself, the elders of the Zhou family prefer Xiao Shumei, so from now on, even if you really marry him, you will definitely not be liked by the elders. What puzzles me the most is that since he doesn't like Xiao Shumei and doesn't intend to be with her, why does he still talk to her and laugh with her? I don't hate Zhou Qian, I can even say I like him a little bit, but do you see my attitude towards Zhou Qian now? Why can't he do what I can do? I feel that what he is doing now can only explain one problem, that is, his feelings for me are not as deep as he said. Chu Xia looked at her speechlessly. If this person got into trouble like this, she really didn't know what to say, especially with a character like Lin Mengran who didn't care about anything but was actually very sensitive. This is also related to her growth experience. She has been shrouded in Lin Menjai's halo since she was a child, and was ignored by most people. Now she is emotionally unstable. There will be less sense of security. But really speaking, Zhejiang is also responsible. After dating Lin Mengran for such a long time, he should know the other person's character and do less things to misunderstand him. And that's Xiao Shumei. At first glance, he looks like a scheming master. Although Zhejiang said that he has always disliked the other party because of the other party's scheming. However, what Lin Mengran said makes sense. If you don't like it, why bother with it? If it were her, Zhou Mikang would do this. Can she accept it? After thinking about it from his perspective, Chu Xia had a better understanding of Lin Mengran's approach. Boss, I think it's not good for you to look like this. Seeing everyone glaring at each other, Li Xinlai spoke up and looked at Lin Mengran seriously. You and Zhejiang haven't been dating as long as Zhang Ji and I. The short time we have been together, you should have some idea of Zhejiang's character. He is a gentle person to everyone. So, what he did was completely expected. I say this not because I feel pain in my back when I stand and talk, because Zhang Ji is also a person with a gentle personality, At first, seeing him joking with his female colleagues in his unit made me feel quite uncomfortable, so I understand your mood especially. It wasn't until what happened to my sister that I truly understood that gentleness does not mean being a good person, nor does it mean that we will lose our sense of proportion. As long as we give enough trust and speak out our dissatisfaction, one day, this contradiction will no longer exist. I have already told him, but he is still chatting and laughing with Xiao Shumei. Lin Mengran frowned tightly. You also saw it this morning, right? That's not a joke. Wu Jingbo looked at her speechlessly. Fortunately, I saw the scene with my own eyes, otherwise, you would have been misled. That's right, Yang Xiaoli answered quickly and looked at Chu Xia. Don't listen to this guy's nonsense. In the morning, it was Xiao Shumei who stopped Zhou from talking. Zhou smiled lightly and nodded, then turned towards us. At that time, the boss's face dropped, and we couldn't talk about her in front of Zhou. Later, when we were busy in class, we put the matter aside. Unexpectedly, she kept it in her heart. Boss, to be honest, you are a little too sensitive now, Li Xinlai said. Am I sensitive? Lin Mengran pouted. Anyway, I just don't like the way he talks and laughs with other women. If this continues, the two of us will probably have to break up. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. Stop talking nonsense. If you really do this, Lin Menjai will be extremely happy, and most of the girls in the school will definitely applaud. You and Zhou will make people jealous. You don't know it yourself, do you? If it wasn't because I really liked him, I would have let him go a long time ago. Lin Mengran looked troubled. I know that what you said makes sense, and I also know that I am suspected to be seriously ill. But I have such a personality, and I hope that my feelings are particularly pure. Of course, I am not saying that he cannot deal with the opposite sex, I just ask him to pay attention to propriety. If he can't do it, no matter how much I like him, I can only bear the pain and let him go. It's not that I don't love you, it's that I really don't want to hurt myself or the other person anymore. Can you understand what I mean? I understand. Yang Xiaoli hugged her shoulders with a look of helplessness. But why are you like this? Unless. She glanced at Chu Xia and said, unless you find a boyfriend with a personality like Mr. Zhou. Pull her down. Lin Mengran pushed her away. That kind of character requires absolute strength. Do you think I have the ability to find a man like that? After hesitating, Yang Xiaoli comforted, look slowly, maybe you will find it. With my face, do you think I will be attracted to that kind of man? Lin Mengran rolled her eyes as she spoke. I am self-aware, so stop teasing me, okay? Chu Xia looked at the others speechlessly. Are you not going to be friends with me? No, no, Yang Xiaoli held her in a flattering manner, we are complimenting you. Pull him down. Chu Xia rolled her eyes, this kind of praise is unnecessary. We are helping the boss solve the problem now. Can everyone be more serious? She turned to look at Lin Mengran. I can understand you. I may also care about my feelings, but everyone is right, Zhou has that kind of character, and if you mind, it will only make the distance between you farther and farther. My suggestion is to give the other person time to correct it slowly, and at the same time, tell the other person your true thoughts and let him understand where your taboos lie. Just like when you were talking to Zhou at my house before, you just said that you didn't like him being so close to his childhood sweetheart, and he agreed to stay away from each other in the future. However, if Xiao Shumei goes to find him, given his personality, he really cannot be cold-faced and ignore you, then the conflict between you will still exist. If this kind of conflict occurs too much, your relationship will definitely be affected. Boss, it's useless for us to advise you now. The key is for you to understand that it is easy to let go, but it is not easy to prevent yourself from regretting in the future. I understand. Lin Mengran nodded, let me think about it again. To be honest, I just said angry words. If I were really separated from him, I would still be reluctant to part with him. I know that with my conditions, it is absolutely impossible to win his favor. Maybe it is because of this that I am particularly unsure of myself. I will try to adjust. When several people walked into the classroom, Zhejiang looked at Lin Mengran with some worry. From the morning until now, the other party ignored him at all. Several times, he took the opportunity to go over and try to say a few words to the other party, but failed. He knew that it must be the misunderstanding caused by his conversation with Xiao Shumei in the morning. But he pulled his hair tangledly, feeling confused. He really didn't have any feelings for Xiao Shumei. Even if he was not with Lin Mengran, he would not choose Xiao Shumei. But no matter what he said, Lin Mengran would always be dubious. This made him feel a little angry. Since he had chosen the other party, he should give him enough trust. Just like him, he knew that Lin Mengran liked Zhou Qian before, but he never asked Lin Mengran not to allow it. Interact with Zhou Qian. If according to Lin Mengran's standards, he should be jealous. Why would the request be unilateral? The more he thought about it, the more Zhejiang felt that he was right, and his original intention to take the initiative to admit his mistake to the other party after school faded away. Not only that, after school, he didn't even talk to the other party and went back to the dormitory alone. In fact, after an afternoon of thinking, Lin Mengran has decided not to dwell on her own imagination. She has also decided that if Zhejiang comes to find her again, she will give him a step down. In the future, she will try to avoid such conflicts. But she didn't expect that after waiting all afternoon, she would get such a result. She was not a gentle and good-tempered person, but when the other party made such a fuss again, her stubbornness became completely stronger. Relationships are inherently consensual. Since this relationship is worthless in the eyes of the other party, what reason does she have to persist? Why bother with this? She made a decision in her heart, but she didn't say it out loud. Seeing everyone looking at her worriedly, she smiled relaxedly. Why are you all looking at me like this? Boss. Yang Xiaoli called her, but she didn't know what to say. On the contrary, in early summer, after dating Lin Mengran for these days, he understood her temperament. He could understand her inner thoughts just by looking at her expression. However, she knew better that at this time, any persuasion was useless. Emotional matters still had to be solved by the two of them. So she simply pretended not to notice anything and said goodbye to a few people with a relaxed look. Not long after dinner in the evening, Lin Mengran came over. Her eyes were a little abnormally red, and she looked like she had just cried. To be continued. LWXS. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1027. Taking Lin Mengran to her room, Chu Xia looked at her with worry. Did you quarrel with Zhejiang again? No, Lin Mengran shook his head, tears streaming down his face. From now on, we will never argue again. I said we should break up, and he agreed. You actually proposed breaking up. Chu Xia sat up straight. Boss, are you kidding me? Do you think I'm joking? Lin Mengran sniffed. Originally, I wanted to talk about it in a few days, but I was so confused sitting there that I just went to find him. After I told me that we were breaking up, he agreed without any hesitation. Youngest, I really didn't expect that this relationship was so unimportant in his heart. Chu Xia's brows furrowed. She didn't believe Zhejiang didn't care about this relationship, but Zhejiang's current behavior was really beyond her expectation. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran uncertainly. I think he might have said that because he was angry that you didn't care about this relationship and that you didn't trust him, right? No matter what the reason is, He and I are over. I will never shed a tear for him again. Today is the last time I cry for him. After a long sigh, Lin Mengran's tears rolled down again. Luo said, youngest, I feel so sorry for myself. After hesitating for a while, Chu Xia looked at her seriously, you stay here tonight to calm down. As for the matter between you and Zhejiang, let's wait until the emotions calm down before we talk about it, okay? If I don't go back, Xiaoli and the others will definitely be worried. I'm going to wash my face and go back when my eyes can no longer see, Lin Mengran said as she got up and went to the bathroom. Sighing, Chu Xia leaned on the sofa and felt worried. Speaking of which, no matter what age she is in, she has little experience in relationships. When encountering this kind of thing, it is one thing to persuade her. But really let her make up her mind. I really don't know what to do. At this time, she was especially glad that she met Zhou Mikang early, otherwise, with her character, she will be hurt a lot emotionally. It was almost 9 o'clock when we saw Lin Mengran off. What happened to the girl? Zhao Yulan asked her daughter worriedly. Chu Xia recounted the entanglement between Lin Mengran and Zhejiang, and looked at Zhao Yulan with some distress. Mom, I don't accept Zhejiang's actions in my heart. However, the boss is angry now, so I definitely can't say such words. And thinking about it carefully, I also think that if you are so demanding emotionally, you will have less chance of meeting a suitable partner. Probably very difficult. Silly girl, it's not a very difficult problem, it's almost impossible. Sighing, Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter, you are lucky. When you meet Xiaomi, he is capable and decisive, and he is not restricted by rules. Constraints. Anyway, this is the first time that my mother has seen someone with Xiaomi's personality at this age. When Xiaoran's anger subsides, you'd better try to persuade her. That child Xiaojiang is a rare good child. If she is like this, if you miss it, you will regret it. Your mother is right. Lin Baohe, who was sitting aside, interjected, Dad is a man himself and can understand Xiaojiang's mood. He agreed to break up. He didn't mean that he really wanted to break up with Xiaoran. He was angry with Xiaoran. Think about his past love for Xiaoran, and then think about Xiaoran's suspicion of him. Who cares? I always treat people so heartfeltly, but people don't believe me, and I can't stand it. Let me tell you, it's not easy for him to endure until now. Who doesn't have a little temper when he is young? If you don't believe me, ask your mother. Your father and I were still in trouble back then. What your father said is true. Back then, there was a woman in the village who was always willing to work with him. I was very angry. In fact, I knew that your father had nothing to do with her, and I also knew that the woman was just hoping that your father would be able to do the job. The team could do less work, but they couldn't help but get angry. At first I tolerated it, but then when I got home, I yelled at your dad. At first, your dad was coaxing me, but later, he simply ignored me with a sullen face, which made me even more angry. Later, when I could bear it to the limit, I got into an argument with your father, saying that he saw that the young man didn't know his last name. In fact, he was so angry at that time that he couldn't speak clearly. Then your father got very angry and dragged me out at that time, saying that he was going to find that woman to find out. When your father became so serious, I became afraid, so I quickly spoke softly to him. Just like that, your dad ignored me for several days, but later we reconciled. He told me that he was very angry and I didn't believe him. He said that he almost took out his heart and showed it to me, but I still didn't believe him. It's so hurtful. After that time, no matter how much gossip about your father was spread outside, I didn't believe it. Even if someone said it in front of me, I would block it back. If there were too many such things, others would stop spreading them. Xia, you and Xiaoran have a good talk. Men all want face, especially good men. If you give him enough face, he will naturally care about your face and make things better. What Xiao Ran is angry about is Xiao Jiang's association with that girl named Xiao Shumei. Actually, think about it, if Mr. Zhou goes to find Xiao Ran, can she lose face and ignore her? Comparing one's heart with one's heart, isn't it the same thing? If she really believes in Xiao Jiang, maybe Xiao Jiang will really make up his mind to stop talking to Xiao Shumei. Even if another girl comes to her in the future, he will know what to do. After pondering over what his parents said for a while, Chu Xia looked at the couple with a relieved look on his face. I understand. It seems that I will have to pay attention to it in the future. Thank you, my parents, for teaching me another lesson. Silly girl. Zhao Yulan rubbed her daughter's head amusingly. Go back to your room and rest. Before Chu Xia went to find Lin Mengran, Zhou Zhang came to visit early the next morning. As Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan said, the reason why he agreed to Lin Mengran so happily was because he was angry that the other party did not believe and cherish him. At that time, he was so angry that he agreed immediately. The result of being so angry was that I couldn't sleep all night. Thinking of how close Chu Xia and Lin Mengran were, I got up at dawn and walked around the door of Lin's house. Looking at Zhou Jiang's heavy dark circles, Chu Xia looked helpless. I usually see you as quite steady, but I didn't expect you could do such an impulsive thing. So what do you mean now? Help me persuade Xiaoran. I also promised her that I will never talk to Xiao Shumei again. In fact, I didn't talk to Xiao Shumei much before. Even if she came to me and said that she had news from home, I always wanted to listen to it. You also know that my brother followed Yamiru there, and his life and death are still uncertain. My father and brothers are fighting to the death. In my heart, I will inevitably worry about them. Xiao Shumei's father and my father are good friends. There are some news that my father won't tell me, but she can find out from her father's mouth, so. He spread his hands and said no more. I understand, you hope to hear useful news that can help your dad, but. After a slight hesitation, Chu Xia still asked, if you really want to help your dad, you shouldn't choose medicine. Bar. Hey. Zhou Zhang sighed heavily and smiled bitterly. If I had known that things would develop to this point, I would never have majored in medicine. If I have to blame, I can only blame myself for being too ignorant. Studying medicine is my hobby, because I don't like the fight between you and me in politics. I have always felt that being a good doctor can save many people, and that is the most meaningful thing. But now it seems that I took this step to make myself happy, but it put my dad in the most difficult situation, because neither my brother nor I performed well. Grandpa now prefers his second uncle's family. Zhou Wen. Along with this, the voices supporting the second uncle as the head of the family have become louder. But as the eldest son, my father has been working hard for the Zhou family for so many years. How can he feel comfortable when he is suddenly placed below the second uncle? Even if I don't like power struggles, I can still understand my dad's mood. Therefore, after I graduate, I probably won't take the postgraduate entrance examination for medical school. Now if it's not that there's not much difference between changing midway and continuing, I will probably choose to take the college entrance examination again. However, no matter who is the head of the Zhou family in the end, our family will not be abandoned, and I will definitely be able to help Xiaoran. The only difference is whether we can control the direction of the Zhou family. Every family has scriptures that are difficult to recite. Chu Xia couldn't help but sigh. She remembered that Zhou Jiang's father had obtained permission from the old man of the Zhou family, and he had to be the head of the family. Unexpectedly, short in just a few months, things turned around again. No wonder Zhou Jiang's emotions were so out of control. To put it this way, Lin Mengran is not qualified as a girlfriend. Her boyfriend is facing so much pressure. Not only can she not provide support, but she also adds to the chaos. alas. Looking back, after hearing what Chu Xia said about Zhejiang, Lin Guran looked surprised. Did he tell you this personally? What do you think? Chu Xia rolled her eyes speechlessly. Do you think I would make up a story to trick you into reconciling with him? Do you think I would do such a thing? No, no, Lin Mengran looked embarrassed. Of course I won't doubt you. I just feel that when I get along with him, I don't feel that his mood is wrong. Besides, why doesn't he tell me? What if he told me? Can I not be considerate of him? Doesn't he still feel sorry for you? You mean, I wronged him? Chu Xia rolled her eyes again and was too lazy to pay attention to her. He. Someone smiled sarcastically. Then I apologized to him. Whatever, you decide your own affairs, I won't mess with it. But Lin Mengran looked confused. I am a girl, am I too embarrassed to apologize to him? And he is also at fault. To be continued. LWXS. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1028. Update 2. Anyway, I've told you the truth. It's up to you to decide what to do. Chu Xia looked at Lin Mengran with a calm expression. As long as you feel that you won't regret it in the future. Lin Mengran's face turned bitter. You are sincerely irritating me. I'm not irritating you, I'm just reminding you. Chu Xia sighed. Boss, girls hope that their boyfriends will coax them and give in to them, no matter right or wrong, but why? Just because you are a girl, does the other party have to accommodate everything and admit their mistakes no matter they are right or wrong? Lin Mengran pouted in dissatisfaction. You clearly just stand and talk without back pain. Do you dare to say that your Mr. Zhou is not such a man? No, Chu Xia looked at him seriously. The relationship between him and me is different from yours. I have told you before that our marriage was not a beautiful one at first. What he likes is either my appearance or my personality, and what I like is that I don't want to be entangled with all kinds of people anymore, and I don't want my parents to live such a life of fear anymore. If I had it my way, marriage would have to take at least 2 to 3 years later. However, Zhou Mikang's insistence forced me to compromise. I admit that the fundamental reason for my compromise was cowardice. I don't want to live a precarious life with my parents again after I miss him. I don't want to always worry about my parents being bullied or worrying that my family will have to live on the streets again. Indeed, in this relationship, because of these unavoidable reasons and our age gap, he was destined to give me more. And these tolerances are not unprincipled. When I don't trust him, of course he will be disappointed and angry, but given his age and experience, naturally, he would not handle it like Zhejiang did. He always has a way of making me realize my mistakes and feel guilty for him in my heart. And my feelings for him were also guided by him time and time again. It is getting deeper and deeper. Now, I will no longer feel the grievances I felt when I first married him, and I will also admit that meeting him is my blessing. But the premise of all this, it was all achieved in the beginning because I didn't go to extremes. The relationship between you and Zhejiang now is the same as the relationship between me and Zhou Mikang. It feels very difficult to admit your mistake, but once you really open your mouth, everything becomes easier. If, as you fear, you admit your mistake once and have to adapt to everything in the future, then this person is not worthy of your love, right? Think about it for a while. Lin Mengran smiled bitterly. I admit that what you said makes sense. Okay, then I will ask him to admit his mistake. If he is arrogant in the future, there will be no regrets in breaking up. Why do you always want to break up? Chu Xia looked at her speechlessly. Your mentality is too wrong. The purpose of admitting your mistake is to let you get along better, not to break up. My youngest, can we be gentler? My elders rarely train me like this. If your elders knew that you were struggling here, they would also train you like this. Chu Xia glanced at her sideways. If you think my attitude is bad and you have conflicts with Zhejiang in the future, don't come to me. Nagging. Hee hee. Lin Mengran smiled fawningly and stepped forward to hold Chu Xia's hand. I'm just teasing you, don't take it seriously. It's almost time for class, I'll help you back to the classroom. After class, Zhejiang walked out in front, and Lin Mengran followed behind. When they came back, both of them had smiles on their faces. Look at these two people, it's raining and winding. Yang Xiaoli whispered into Chu Xia's ear, are you doing ideological work for them again? Chu Xia nodded, that's right. Let me tell you, when the boss came back yesterday, I asked her if she had come to complain to you, but she still didn't admit it. Just as Lin Mengran came closer, Yang Xiaoli pouted at her, liar. Lin Mengran blushed, sat uncomfortably on the edge and became motionless. How could Yang Xiaoli let her go so easily? She stretched her head towards her and said, you two have reconciled. Isn't it time to treat us to a reunion dinner tonight? Good. Lin Mengran responded so happily, Yang Xiaoli couldn't say anything. She happened to see the monitor Li Xinlu come in, so she quickly changed the subject of gossip. My youngest, there is something I haven't told you yet. Last night Li Xinlu was beaten up. Why? Chu Xia looked at her in surprise. You must know that this class leader is very hands-on in everything, but he is very popular with the class teacher. As a result, most of the classmates also fawned over him and were beaten blatantly. It was really something she couldn't imagine. He initially fell in love with you, but after he found out you were married, he turned his attention to Xinlai. As a result, Xinlai ignored him, and then she got a boyfriend, so he turned his attention to Cheng Suimei, who was in the next class. Then, last night, Cheng Suimei's fiancée came and beat him up shamelessly. Before leaving, he made harsh words, saying that if he ever got into Suimei's idea again, he would be put in bed for the rest of his life. On the bed. Listening to her wordy words, Chu Xia rolled her eyes speechlessly. You can just tell me the second half. Do you need to fill in the first half too? Isn't this to emphasize his high vision? Yang Xiaoli chuckled, do you know what Cheng Suimei's fiancée said about him? Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her, don't show off. I hate it, you don't even cooperate. After a pause, when Chu Xia didn't answer, Yang Xiaoli had no choice but to continue, to say that he looks like a toad, yet he insists on burrowing into a pile of swans, is really overestimating one's capabilities. Son. But talking about this matter, Li Xinlu is a little unjust, right? Wu Jingbo on the side answered, Cheng Suimei clearly agreed to talk to him about a partner, and she didn't say that she had a fiancé. This is obviously harmful to others. Well. Yes, I think so too. Li Xinlai nodded in agreement, although I hated him when he approached me before, but overall, this person is still measured. After learning that I had a boyfriend, he apologized to me immediately and never pestered me again. If Cheng Suimei told him that she had a boyfriend, he would definitely not talk to Cheng Suimei. Why do I feel that Cheng Suimei did this on purpose? Lin Mengran, who kept her head down, couldn't hold it in anymore. When I came back, Cheng Suimei and her fiancé were walking out. Her fiancé was very loud. She scolded her for being shameless, and said that she would not let her scheme succeed, and said that even if she wanted to resist, she should find someone with enough weight. What's the use of finding a sweet potato like that? Yang Xiaoli interrupted her with a smile, I knew you wouldn't be able to hold it in as soon as this topic was brought up. How about it, are you free from the blockage now? Disgusting, Lin Mengran rolled her eyes at her, turned away and ignored her. In the evening, a few people were going to a party. Chu Xia wanted to go home, which was convenient. However, others felt that it was inconvenient to cause trouble with the elders there, and they wanted to kill Lin Mengran and Zhejiang. They can't be that cheap. Therefore, The location was chosen at the Grand Guangming Hotel next to the school gate. The restaurant was just across the street from Chu Xia's house. After ordering, Lin Mengran ran to the Lin family to ask for leave on Chu Xia's behalf. After returning, she stared at a pregnant woman with a bitter look on her face. Uncle Lin and Aunt Zhao warned me for 10 minutes. Why do I think you are more sophisticated than giant pandas now? Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. When you get to this day, you will understand. In addition to the 5 members of the small group, Zhou Zhang, Ou Yi, and Zhou Qian were also invited over. They were regular customers of De Guangming. They ordered 8 dishes and 1 soup, and the restaurant specially sent a can of red bean, sweet potato, and chestnut porridge, which was delicious. It's fragrant and glutinous, especially suitable for girls. When the dishes were all served, Lin Mengran stood up on his own initiative, smiled and nodded at everyone. First of all, let me declare that I will be the one to treat today's meal, and the 3 gentlemen sitting here are not allowed to compete with me. Then she looked at Zhou Zhang. I apologized to Zhou Zhang in front of everyone. I shouldn't have doubted him for no reason, let alone said goodbye. I promise that I will never make this kind of mistake again in the future. When I have questions in my mind, I will take the initiative to ask them. No matter how you explain it, I will choose to believe it. Ran, thank you. Zhou Zhang stood up helplessly, his eyes full of emotion. He didn't expect Lin Mengran to apologize to him in front of everyone. Thank you for nothing. This is what you should do. Lin Mengran smiled at him. If you do something wrong in the future, you will have to apologize to me. Zhou Zhang looked at her solemnly. I promise you, if I encounter something similar again in the future, I will ask you to face it with me, and I will never let you misunderstand again. I can't say that what happened this time is all your fault. If I could pay more attention and keep an appropriate distance from Xiao Shumei, there would definitely be no subsequent conflicts. Ran, I won't say any more, look at my actions. He looked at everyone. I ask everyone sitting here to be witnesses for me. If I make such a mistake again, you can help punish Ran. It's necessary. But Mr. Zhou, you have to show your sincerity, right? Yang Xiaoli filled him up with a glass of wine. Should we drink 3 large glasses? I really want to do this, but if I do, my performance tonight will end here. Zhou Zhang smiled apologetically. Okay, let me have a drink, okay. 1/3 is enough. Lin Mengran glared at him. Don't you know how drunk you are? After drinking this drink, you will probably start talking nonsense, right? You started talking nonsense before everyone started. Does it fit? Zhou Zhang responded happily, okay, just 1/3. Oh, are you protected right now? Yang Xiaoli curled her lips. Boss, you are a person who values sex over friends. I despise you. To be continued. LWXS